Hello. I didn't think I was going to be making this video because I really didn't expect Colleen Ballinger to come back so soon, but I just wanted to give an update, share my thoughts on the situation since the last time I talked about it, which was a little while ago. For those of you who don't know, I made a video that was pretty controversial, um, and it was my first video since I decided to come back after not being on YouTube for a little while and just really get back into the flow of things. And I didn't know what topic to pick, even though I had been thinking about coming back for weeks. And all of a sudden, the whole situation with this happened, and I got an idea for a video and a title, and something just clicked in my head, and I felt like I was supposed to make it. And to be honest, if I had a chance to redo it, it would probably look a little more like what you're about to see, but I don't really regret anything I said in the video. I think that I was being honest. I was sharing my real thoughts. I did watch it before I uploaded it. It's not like I just filmed it and then posted it and moved on. Like, I was aware of what I was saying. But there are some things I probably could have worded a little better, some things that probably weren't super clear. But it's not like I look back and I'm like, what was I talking about? Like, I know what I meant. You might not know what I meant by watching it, but I know what I was trying to say, and I'm gonna hopefully make all of that a little bit clearer in this video. So if you don't know the video I'm talking about, I don't want to even bother bringing it up. You know, it's not worth watching if you're gonna watch this, so it really doesn't matter. So I just want to talk about what I think about some of the different aspects of this situation. The first one that I want to talk about is whether or not I think she's actually as bad as she's being made out to be. So, Colleen Ballinger is a YouTuber who is being referred to as a groomer. And, some people are also taking it a step further and calling her a pedophile. That I can confidently say that she isn't. I haven't seen any evidence of that. But groomer, I will indulge for a moment. I'll explain my thoughts on that. So, first of all, I think it's important to keep in mind that in any situation, nothing is that black and white. I look at her and what I see is someone who definitely has a little bit of work ahead of them, and whether or not they're going to do that remains to be seen. But if I were to, really get to know her, and in depth, I might be surprised by how much depth there is to her personality and how much she actually is willing to grow. And again, I might also find that she's consistently manipulative and unwilling to grow and change. But I don't know her, so I can't really make that assessment. All I can really tell you is what it looks like based on what I have seen, where I'm standing. So my thoughts on her new apology, even though I don't really think that there was an old one, I think if you really paid attention, even in her newest video, not her newest video, but her first video that she made to come back, the fall vlog video. um, if you were paying attention, she made it pretty clear in that and in the high video that she was not apologizing. She was being petty and angry. I always saw that video as kind of a big middle finger to the whole situation, and I really hate that people actively refer to it as an apology video and that people are acting like this is a second apology. This is her first time apologizing, and it feels a little bit disingenuous. The fact that she is trying to seem like she's humbled herself, she's like, oh, I was acting out of ego, and I'm all about positivity and love, and I want to create a trusting environment here. And it's like, yeah, none of that is really different from what she was saying before, first of all. Second of all, she said she was embarrassed of that video and didn't take it down, so that's a little weird. Apparently, I haven't verified this. I don't know why I haven't looked into it, but probably wouldn't take me more than a couple seconds. But I'm pretty sure somebody said that she posted her first video in like 4 months, fall vlog, on the birthday of her ex-husband's wife, which if that is true, that has to be deliberate, you know? I mean, and that's just spiteful. So for her to be acting like she is some, you know, mature person as opposed to who she was a few months ago is just ridiculous. I much prefer someone who is not afraid to show their true selves, who isn't trying to control how other people perceive them, who just, says what they're really thinking and says what they really mean and then just owns what they say. It's not that hard if you let go of fear, because that's where trying to control other people comes from, is a fear of what they think, a fear of maybe your own well-being. I think it's kind of from a survival instinct, the idea that you need to be liked, because if you get, if you're isolated, if no one likes you, you're in danger. That survival instinct makes sense, but it's not really applicable to every situation or most situations in modern life. So we have to learn to take control and not just let our instincts and fears drive us. You have to make sure that you're the one making the decisions. And when you don't really have a logical reason to be afraid of anything, don't try to control anything. Dishonesty and deception go hand in hand. So I do get a little bit of a deceptive vibe from her. It feels like she is kind of trying to control the way that she's perceived, but I could also say that about most people. There are not a ton of people who are fearlessly authentic and don't care what others think of them. Most people, at one level or another, try to control how others see them, whether it's through the way they present themselves, the way they talk, or through, and this is not something everyone does, but I think maybe even just a little bit people do it, but varying degrees, I'll just say that, manipulating other people, instead of just changing the way that you present yourself and you act, which is still not good, for you, because you're not really being yourself and other people aren't really getting to see the real you. And then you might have anxiety and then that might be contagious and other people are uncomfortable. It takes a lot of energy to be anxious, and you got to get energy from somewhere. You're sucking it out of other people that you're around. That's why it's like anxiety is contagious. And then, alternatively, or in addition to that, you could be trying to not just change the way that you act, but change the way other people act and try to use manipulative tactics to get people to do what you want, whether it's through, direct force, assertion of power. Maybe you're a parent or something, or maybe you don't feel like you're a parent, but you still want to get the result, so you just find other ways to do it, maybe through guilt tripping or just, subtle, planting ideas in people's heads. Shit like this that is so indirect, so dishonest, so cowardly, because it's not actually based on anything logical, and it's completely void of compassion and empathy. We need to stop doing this. Like, it happens so much, and I can't judge people who do it because it's so common. So, yeah, maybe that is true about Colleen. I think it definitely is. The only question is it consistent? That's what you have to look for. When someone does this consistently and has shown that um, they would choose it over a relationship, like for example, if it came down to her, in Colleen Ballinger's situation, for those who don't know, she has kids. If it came down to her choosing between having a relationship with her kids or choosing, to hold on to her fears, like if she had to sacrifice whatever she's holding on to, because we have to make sure that our values are in the right order. And I think valuing honesty and integrity should always be up at the top. But if you value how you're perceived, which is implied by her talking about positivity and kindness, which seem kind of like an ideal way to be, so that would seem a little bit too perfect, a little bit too ideal. If she had to sacrifice that image and, allow the world to see her as a bad person or whatever, um, as the price for still having a relationship with her kids. Would she choose her kids or would she choose her fears? And that's how you can tell. There are some people who would choose their fears over anything. I know people who have damaged their relationships in everyone in their life because they just cannot let go. They will not let go. Narcissists, and sociopaths. This is who they've chosen to be. And their consistency is what's scary because there is no choice that they'll choose over. Now, if they've convinced you that they've chosen you, make no mistake, it is only you that they've convinced. They haven't convinced themselves, they're not lying to themselves. They know what they're doing. They know that their fears and their perception is more important to them than their relationship with you. But what they like is the ability to control you. So they will try to get you to think that they've chosen you, but they really haven't. And you'll be able to tell because it'll feel like nothing's changed. They'll say whatever they want in the moment, but the behavior doesn't change. It's still the same dynamics, the same circumstances. So look out for this. Whether I could say that about Colleen Ballinger, is she a narcissist? I don't know. I hope not, for the sake of her family. But I don't have great things to say about people who vlog their families. Just I feel like it's a little bit exploitative of children because they can't really decide that at such a young age. All the family vlogging channels just like they really exploit the idea of being a nuclear family and just all of this other stuff that just feels like they care more about that than actually having a real authentic relationship with their kids. Now, I've always seen Colleen as a pretty authentic person, and her videos have always had a pretty uplifting vibe. And I found her from her character, Miranda Sings, which is completely different from family vlogging. And she, when I say family vlogging, I'm mainly thinking of her brother who has a vlog channel for his family. But I don't really watch that, so I don't know how that really feels. But there are plenty of family vlog channels that I could confidently say are exploitative. I don't know if I can say that about her and her family, but just the idea of it is something that kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm only saying this to say that it's not looking great for her just based on my own personal opinions, which is the whole point of this video, is to share my thoughts. Um, but I think that, it's just thinking about like her as a person, what I've seen of her, I don't really feel like she is as manipulative or dangerous as she's being made out to be. I have seen people like this. I know what it's like, and I definitely could see it as a possibility, but it's not like I feel like it's more likely that it's something less sinister and dark than it's being made out to be. That's where I would bet. If I was gonna put money on it, I would say that it's not as dark as it's being made out to be. I definitely wouldn't call her a groomer because I don't really think that she, the things that she was accused of doing that are inappropriate, I don't think she did those things with the intention of getting anything out of it. I don't think, grooming has to be intentional. The whole point of grooming is that you are intentionally trying to solicit some type of inappropriate interaction with a child. And the word groom has been grossly misused, especially against the LGBT community recently. People calling trans people groomers and even just, gay people, just like it's a word that has been used historically to attack people, to justify attacking people, and it's because it relates to children. That is a very classic tactic because people have the instinct to protect children. They're the young, and it makes sense that you would want to keep them safe from any danger. So as soon as you make it about children, that's when people get really passionate and they get their pitchforks and torches and they get ready to stop anyone who's ready to hurt children. Anytime you make an issue about children, politicians love to do this. It's like always talking about children, this and save the children. Children are the future, and um, they do this when making arguments against the LGBT community too. They love it. They're like, oh, protect the children. It's fine, do whatever you want, but not in front of our kids. Just keep it away, keep it out of the classrooms. Kids don't need to know about this. And they love to make those arguments. Now, if you are one of those people, this video is not for you because I have a lot to say on that topic, and I would have to make a separate video to address that. I can't cram my arguments about that issue into this video. So let's just assume that your take on that is not relevant to the points that I'm making. But just to make the comparison that trans people are definitely not pedophiles. There is absolutely no correlation between wanting to change the way that you are perceived and having an attraction to children. These are two completely unrelated things. And in Colleen Ballinger's situation, what is shown, what we know for sure, is that she was in group chats with people that were under the age of 18, but still teenagers, and that she said some things that were not quite appropriate to say, but still not like, creepy to the degree that I would be like, Jesus, what's wrong with her? I'd be like, oh God, what were you thinking? More than, ooh, keep her away from kids. She's dangerous. If you actually look at the evidence for yourself and don't have anybody else's narrative in mind, it doesn't look like she's trying to get anything out of it. It looks like she's just not super good with boundaries, super aware of what is and isn't appropriate to say in a given setting. And you cannot fault someone for being human, People make mistakes like that all the time. And whether or not it's true that it really traumatized all of these kids beyond repair, um, that remains to be seen, because unfortunately there is a whole separate issue of people nowadays being like way too dramatic and kind of treating themselves like babies instead of giving themselves the benefit of the doubt that they can actually handle situations and come out of it empowered. I understand that trauma is traumatic. I understand that it isn't easy to deal with situations like this, but I also understand that everywhere you go, humans are dealing with horrible shit. And we cannot just cripple under the pressure and say, oh, I, I just can't do it. I'm a helpless little baby. While simultaneously talking about empowerment and I'm strong and I survived. And it's like, okay, that's good, but are you going to actually continue to be strong, or are you just going to, milk this trauma that you experienced for all that it's worth, all the sympathy and woe is me, and just, people just way like over dramatize things and milk their traumatic experiences for all sorts of things. They just want to feel special and feel important, which is a whole other issue. It could be for various reasons. It could be related to trauma. It could be a sign of narcissism, which is what a lot of people say who are like, already talking about this, which I don't know if I would go that far. That feels a little too cynical, but I think it's an issue that most people have, which is why I wouldn't go that far. I think people in general like to see themselves as victims, like to not really actually take responsibility for the work that they have to do, because, if someone you know, sticks their leg out and trips you, yeah, it sucks. You got tripped. And that person who did that is an asshole and they shouldn't have done it. But what are you going to do? Just lay on the ground and whine for the rest of your life? Play the victim for the rest of your life and get sympathy from everyone? No, you stand up and you keep going. And you keep a closer eye out for ankles next time so it doesn't happen again, Look at the ground next time you're walking and make sure that you're prepared for assholes like that, because they're not going to go away just because you had a traumatic experience. And I think that's what most people know, is that, it could always happen again. So they hold on to that anger, and they want revenge because they think that by holding on to unforgiveness, they're going to protect themselves. That's not true. What you're really doing in that situation is you're feeling like you're responsible for your abuser's karma, and you're really not. It's not your job to protect other people from the person who abused you unless it's like actually in your path, like you are just, it would just make sense. Like there you are, of course you should protect people, but you shouldn't be going out of your way to do that, especially when the method of doing it is by hurting your abuser. That's not good. You're stooping to their level at that point. If you were to pull up to someone's house with a gun and go in there and try to shoot them, and then they defended themselves and they managed to turn the tables and shoot you, the context is completely irrelevant. You, with the gun, who went in that house, are wrong. It doesn't matter if the person you were trying to shoot was abusive to you at any point. It doesn't matter if that person deserved it. The fact is, You went in there with the intention to kill them, and they had no choice but to try and defend themselves. It doesn't matter if they deserved it or not. They had no chance to even make a defense, and they found a way to do it. And what were they supposed to do? Just let you kill them? How does that make more sense? That's why revenge is not a good option. It's unfair and it causes you to stoop to their level. Now you've become the abuser. You've become the person who the other person has to make an act of self-defense against. And in court, they would not care about the context. In a situation where you go into someone's house and you try to kill them, context is irrelevant. You're just wrong for doing that. That's why it's important to always think about these things, because we're not doing that literally, but by using people's names whenever they've done something wrong, not only is it unprofessional in situations online where we don't know everything about the situation, we don't have all the information, we don't really know any of the people involved. All we know is what's being shared. All we know is what we've seen, which is not much, And it also doesn't consider the fact that every human being is unique and complex, and that we are not as better as each other as we would like to think. We're all kind of, messed up in different ways to different levels, and a lot of the things that we judge other people for, we actually do. So, I understand the concept of wanting to protect people. That is not lost on me. I get it. But you can't just focus so much on getting revenge or, exposing the alleged abusive person, and then there's really no point where it ends. The whole problem with cancel culture is that people will tell you that cancel culture doesn't exist, that it's just about justice and it's not a matter of canceling someone, it's just a matter of exposing the truth. And then if you say, yeah, but it goes too far, the abuse is terrible. It's like, it doesn't go too far. It's definitely not worse than what they inflicted on others. And if they can't deny that, and they're like, okay, well, maybe it is a little worse than what they did, but it's still deserved. They shouldn't have done that if they didn't want to be endlessly harassed online and bullied to potentially even committing suicide. You know, they'll just say that it's deserved. They shouldn't have been acting like that, which is the same logic that abusive people use in the first place. Like a rapist saying, oh, she shouldn't have been dressed like that. Her skirt shouldn't have been so short if she didn't want someone to take advantage of her. Like, you cannot use that logic, because what you're doing is you're acting in a way that is harmful, aggressive, and abusive, and you're putting the responsibility of that on the person who's being attacked. But it's your responsibility. Your behavior is always your responsibility. And the irony is that you hear them saying this shit about the abusive person while being abusive themselves. It's very ironic. Um, but it's also tragic because these people get lost in spirals. Most of them don't actually expect the abusive person to even hear what they're saying. You know, people who cover issues like this, people who talk, and I'm not even talking about Colleen, I just mean in general, people who cover situations like this, YouTube channels, news outlets, whatever you can find, most of them are not even involved in the situation at all. And all it really does is encourage discussion in the comments, and just among people, just in, like, even in DMs, probably just talking to each other and spending all of their energy on negativity, just spewing negativity, talking gossip about why someone is a bad person, when they could instead be spending that energy, if they really care about protecting people, on, I don't know, something that might actually result in someone being protected. Like, go out and donate your time. If you really are going to spend your time on something like this, go out and donate your time then to, I don't know, something that protects kids from child molesters or something. I don't know. There are a million other things that you could do, but instead you want to spend all of your energy on this. It doesn't get you anywhere, doesn't help anybody. And clearly, the fact of Colleen Ballinger coming back is proof that it hasn't really done anything. So you guys got to stop this nonsense. I got brutally attacked just for making a video that sort of spoke in defense of her a few months ago, and I didn't even say anything that controversial if you actually paid attention. It was pretty similar to what I said in this. And if you guys think this is controversial, I have no faith in humanity anymore. But I think the fact that I got so ruthlessly attacked in the comments, it burrowed into my head, you know? It stays there. The shit that people say, it really sticks with you. And it's definitely not something to take lightly. I found myself arguing with people, feeling like I had to respond to every comment. And that experience, I don't regret it because it taught me how to handle getting hate like that. It taught me how to appropriately deal with it. And I could still read the comments, but replying to them was not good. It just was a gateway to problems. And I made sure that from now on, whenever I reply, it's not going to turn into a whole back and forth argument, and that I try to keep my replies quick and to the point. Excuse me, I just burped a little bit with my mouth closed. You might not have heard it, but just in case you did, I wanted to just get on top of it and announce it. um, so yeah, I think I said everything that I wanted to say. In conclusion, Colleen Ballinger may not be perfect, but I have not seen any evidence that would justify using the word groomer to describe her. I think in general, we really need to be careful about how we use that word because it is a word that has some importance and should definitely not be used in the wrong contexts. Um, I do think that she may be manipulative, she may be narcissistic. That remains to be seen. Only people who have actually met her can really know that for sure. But unfortunately, like I said, it's hard to tell nowadays when someone is just making a mountain out of a molehill or when there's actually a mountain, you know? It's a little hard to tell the difference just based on hearing what they say. Because of course, you know, if they want attention, they're going to say whatever they can to make it sound bigger than it is. So just take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Make sure that you treat everyone with empathy, kindness, and respect. Whether you think they're right or wrong, this includes the victims, this includes the perpetrator. You know, treat people the same. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. I was taught in kindergarten that that is the golden rule. They also had a silver rule and a bronze rule in my school, and I really don't remember them at all. Um, but I remember the golden rule, and I think that's even biblical, was treat people the way you want to be treated. Pretty straightforward. Most adults do not do this, unfortunately, because people always feel justified in whatever they feel like they want to do. People are kind of ruled by their emotions, and I mentioned earlier in the video that we really need to get on top of that because it's never led anywhere good, and it's never going to. We need to learn how to actually have control of ourselves and not just fall victim to whatever impulse we get and whatever emotion is at the forefront. Let logic take over. And sometimes logic isn't going to lead you anywhere good either. And, you know, personally, in my own beliefs, I think intuition is the way to go. And intuition, I'm referring to something a little bit more spiritual. But, you know, you don't have to believe in that if you don't want to. Logic is a good crutch to lean on when you don't believe in intuition, because even though intuition will always lead you right, and logic and emotion will sometimes not, logic is way more likely to lead you in the right direction than emotion. Emotion almost never leads you anywhere good. So just keep this in mind. If you're curious about what I mean by intuition, but you don't really have an opinion on it, I can explain it in the comments. Just ask. Um, yeah, so that's it. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. It's night when I'm filming this, but have a good day if, you know, whatever time of day it is. And, if you like my content, I try to post as often as I can. And I have another channel that I'm trying to grow called Tristan For You, and it's just videos where I talk more about, like, advice and psychology and stuff, and just anything that people suggest, but I haven't really gotten many suggestions yet because it's a very new channel. And this channel is more just where I talk about my own thoughts and ideas and just pretty much whatever I want to say. And this topic just seemed as appropriate as any since it's a classic, you know. I've talked about it a few times already, and it just seemed like a good time to give an update on my thoughts since I think I have a more coherent way of expressing them. Hopefully you agree after hearing everything I said. I'm sure there's more to be said. You know, this is a big discussion to be had, but I didn't want this video to get out of hand, and in all honesty, I'm not as passionate about the subject as I was when I first made the video addressing it. So these are just my general thoughts. Hopefully I didn't lose you, because I know that there may have been times where it wasn't super clear what I was talking about. That's gonna happen because I don't edit my videos and I try to do everything in one take. But my comment section's always open if you need clarification on anything. All right, sorry this was a half hour. I wish it could have been shorter. I was definitely planning on making a shorter video, but yeah. Have a good rest of your day or night, and I'll see you next time you watch one of my videos. Or I guess you'll see me. Thank you.